Hold on here.
Right? Relationships are not sustainable unless they're mutually beneficial, unless there is an exchange of value. It's a two-way street. There's reciprocity. That's the foundation of any great relationship, right? Value comes in many, many forms, right? What's valuable to Jimmy is different than what's valuable to Anthony, right? So ask the question, ask them what's of value to them so you have a better sense of how you can then create value for them. Don't make assumptions that what you want is what other people want, because that's not always the case. Ask, listen, learn, and then that puts you in a much better position to create value for others, right? It is about helping people improve their lives, and it can be the simplest little thing with hello. If you see someone who's looking a little bit down, how are you? How can I help? To something much bigger, hey, can I help you on this listing presentation? Because I've got a lot more experience than you do. It comes in a myriad of different forms, but if you don't ask and you don't listen and you don't engage and connect with people, you'll never know. So I really encourage that engagement and that initiative and being proactive about that, right? How do you maximize the value you create for others? Let's go to the next slide. Pour into others. It's purposeful. Like this is, once again, a choice. You don't have to give anything to anyone. That's a choice you can make or not make. And again, I encourage you, if you haven't made that choice every day, that when you understand that, your life will be a lot more, again, fulfilling. Come from curiosity, come from contribution. I think those are so fundamental, and everyone can do that very easily, right? Ask good questions, again, listen, and put yourself in a position to add value to other people, right? Define the gap, right? When you ask those questions, where are they now? Look at your client. When you sit in front of a client, where are they now? Where do they want to be? And how can you be the vehicle for their success, right? And that's the key to it all. It's real simple. That needs analysis, as we say, gives you that platform and that opportunity to create a roadmap for them that allows them to achieve what they want to achieve. And again, it's unique to the individual. Ask the question, listen, and then that gives you the opportunity to create the plan and the path. Anyone want to jump in and comment on that? Come on, somebody, before I call on people. Andrew.
Yeah. I really think it's about intimacy. That's why we're here. That's why we exist, to develop intimacy. And as Gary Tiller says, right, it's an inside to outside job. Into me, I see. And what's the path for that? Like, who are we around that's there to support us on a consistent daily basis to bring us through that? You know, we're in the right environment. I mean, there's no doubt that me and my team are in the right place with these guys. But there's a need for us to be in Divinity on a daily basis, for us to be working from the inside out,
Connected.
and it is so important. Anthony and I lead a morning call 5 days a week, 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning. And without that call, I don't know that I'd be here today. You know, the grace, the love, the experience that we bring in this business, modeling everything that Keller Williams represents, God, family, and business. What does that look like? You know, how do you connect with that? And so I just, thank you guys. It's living this life intentionally from the inside out, and that's really what it's all about. And there's just evidence everywhere that we're in the right place.
Love it.
So
Thank you.
I'm curious from anyone in the room, what would you guys say to somebody who may tell you that you're too open and generous with your time, or you're too so open that you may be like taken advantage of? What would you say to somebody who told you that?
I mean, I'm a big believer in, yeah, go ahead, you go.
I would say it depends. There absolutely can be truth in that. And it depends on how much time, what are they giving, what are they taking? There certainly are people around that take and take. And I think it's important to draw boundaries around that, and to be an open, vessel that somebody can just take from, I think also does not demonstrate your own value. So
Yeah, there's limited time. Everyone has limited time. With whom and what you use your time is critical. And I think part of that is like telling people what you represent, so they know what your purpose and mission are, so they can figure out where they stand in that context, right? And then I come back to, first and foremost, are they coachable, right? Are they going to take what time you give them and give you a return on the time you spend on them, right? Are they coachable? Are they going to learn and then take what you give them and put it into action? And it's a two-way street. Like when I take Paul's time, I want to make sure he's getting a return on the time he's investing in me, and vice versa. It goes two ways. So I think that creates that accountability that everyone gets elevated. And if you're just taking and taking and taking and not giving back, then that's not someone I'm going to spend. And I think creating boundaries, is critical. Anyone who knows me, I create boundaries, very honestly. Like if you want my time this second, the likelihood you're going to get it this second is very slim, because I've already allocated that scheduled time for someone else. And that's not disrespectful. That's, if anything, it's being disrespectful to the person that's on my calendar, right? So you got to creating those boundaries is really important, but also obviously creating enough access that people who deserve that or earn that right to that time is they have an entry in, right? So I don't know.
Josh just created that boundary with me because I was getting ready to say something. He's like, wait a second. And I appreciate that. I respect that. One of the things Josh and I have been doing a lot is interviewing top agents, and these sorts of things, these sorts of questions come across all the time. I do think if you give first,
Yes.
if you give first, then you're standing far above the crowd. And then what are you giving? And is it of value? And is it what they want? So let me give you something, right? Well, that may not be what you need. So if I'm giving you something that is not what you need, then it's not a gift, right? So doing a bit of a needs analysis, figuring out where somebody is, and then you give something. And I think it is okay to expect something in return, especially in business. We were interviewing top agents, and this top agent had a lot of great resources. And wasn't getting the referral or wasn't getting the deal, and the person kept saying, hey, do you know like a great roofer? Like, yeah, it's his business to know all these great vendors. He's like, he gives it to him once or twice, and then after that, he's like, okay,
No more.
no more. And so that's why
It's
I
all
started
about
with, it
managing
depends.
expectations, right? That's,
Mhm.
I think that's a key piece to that, managing that's relationships, right? And part of managing expectations is to create boundaries.
And one of the things that, when I walked in, I think I heard you say being the vehicle to be,
There.
be the vehicle of where they, taking them where they want to go. And I taught a 1.5-day course for Keller Williams, and that was the one, boil it down right to that. That was it. And it's not taking them where you think they want to go, but it's taking them, being the vehicle. If they see you as the vehicle to take them where they want to go, then they'll go with you every single time. But you have to do a needs analysis in order to do that.
Yeah, and I got that from Paul, be the vehicle for their success, so he gets credit for that. Love it, good question. Next slide. And success does draw people in, right? We look at people's track record, right? When Paul and I ever do anything, we look for the people who are doing it at the highest level. We look for and model their success, right? So when you're successful and you create a track record through your actions, through your experience, people are drawn to that, right? People want to learn from that, right? That's success, and it's accomplished, as I always say, through discipline, consistent, purposeful effort. It's a great combination. It's a great combination of grounded, as I say, grounded confidence with humility, right? How do you gain confidence? You gain confidence by experience. You gain confidence through action. You gain confidence through achievement, right? And when you have that grounded confidence and you also remain humble, then it's a powerful recipe. And that is part of how you become, in my mind, successful, right? And success is uniquely defined by every single person here, right?
And when someone makes a pitch, and we all think that the right way to do it is to be extremely confident. So you go in and maybe you're making a pitch for a listing, and the first thing you should know, of course, is like, what are all the comps, and what is your plan, and I'm the best person for this listing. And think about the way that's going to land on someone. Now, I do think you should have all of that prep work, but creating a collaboration and creating a partnership is proven to get the listing a lot better, because this is a very important asset for someone. And they want to at least be part of the process. So sure, they want to hire the best person, but they also want to be part of the process. And it's that collaboration that actually turns out to be the close.
Right, absolutely.
So confidence is
Look,
great, but
right, it's a team effort for sure. Collaboration, you guys hear me talk about that all the time, right? So that's a big piece of it. And I come back to be clear in the values that you represent. And again, that's unique to everyone. I'm very clear on that, authenticity, humility, diversity, innovation, discipline, consistency, action-oriented, action committed, solution committed. When you're clear on your values, and then hopefully, and you lose credibility if your actions aren't congruent with what you say, right? And be very mindful of that. And when you put that out there, it holds you accountable to making sure you deliver on what you're saying, or you're going to lose credibility and you're going to look foolish, quite frankly. So I'm very purposeful about that. And that's part of leadership, and that's how you create value for others, right? And it is leadership by example. That to me is the best form of leadership, right? Because anyone can say the right things, but if their actions aren't consistent with that, again, there's no credibility in that. And when there is diversity and innovation and people feel safe to be vulnerable, that's a powerful environment, right? People often think, asking for help, one of my affirmations, is a sign of strength. And I think some people get that confused. And that's what we're always striving to create here. And that's how we can continue to create value for one another. And that expands and makes opportunity, exponential. So any questions or comments on that? Isaiah, calling on you, man.
I'm on the hot seat.
I know, I
love it.
I mean,
I'm
You haven't
confident
been
in
raised.
this. No. I just looked at my
no, I mean, I think that's a really great point to make. I think a lot of times we might think to ourselves that our sense of pride would want us to just to figure things out. But I think the beautiful thing about an environment like this one is that when you see other people who are motivated and who are excellent in their own right, it just creates such great opportunities to find different points of intersection for yourself.
Yeah.
So when you think you're going into it wanting to move forward on your own, but then you realize that, oh, I didn't even know this thing existed around this corner, so let me pivot from this angle. And then now your business can continue to flourish in ways you didn't imagine. So that's what I love about the environment we cultivate here.
That collaboration, to that point, it's powerful, and people talk about it, they talk about culture, but are their actions, is that actually coming to life in reality? And that's something I try to be extremely purposeful about with Paul, is being the connectors, breaking down the barriers, so you guys connect and talk with one another, and that just accelerates the learning curve. And I love it, and you nailed it, Jay.
I'm not coming to Josh's class.
That's
all our people who didn't raise their
I first got into real estate. I started a little boutique company and I was there for 3 years. And then my friend talked me into going to Keller Williams Marina LA. And I went there and everybody was so nice. The people were so, I was off the charts, right? And one day I realized I was in a business planning clinic meeting and I wanted to make way more money than everybody else. And they all gave me 9 kinds of grief. Oh, Miss Moneybags, sitting in the back and all that kind of stuff. And I realized I was in the wrong rooms. So I went to Keller Williams Santa Monica after 6 years in the marina. And so after being there for a few years, I mean, wonderful people again, but their D is so high, they're like this all day. They have their blinders on. They don't have time to say hello or, can I help you out with anything? And I came here on a whim, and people always said, well, what's the difference between all the offices? And that's what it is. KW, Marina LA, which no longer exists. Great people help you with your problems, help you with your listing presentation, do anything for you. KW Santa Monica, high D drivers, you get motivated. You want to be around those people, the people you hang out with, the money you make kind of thing. But coming here, I get the best of both worlds. I get the people making the money and I get the nice, friendly people who will talk to you.
Love it. Thank you.
Environment.
Yeah, environment does matter. Yes, love it. And part of environment matters is, again, staying humble, always striving to raise the bar, like always getting that feedback from all of you guys. And how do we continue to improve? How do we perpetually raise the bar? That's something I know Paul and I are completely committed to.
For sure.
Yep. Ross.
I just wanted to expand on that. I'm an initial employee in 2005 in Franklin, Tennessee. I joined this company when it was pretty scary and took a lot of grief. When I called you both, 6 weeks ago, and I think I cried for about 20 minutes on the phone with you, and I think I cried with you too, I was pretty upset. And rightfully so, because what I was searching for, even without Andrew and the team, I was searching for the culture that this company represents to me, and I vigorously defend it. All the other stuff is cool. But as you get older in life, you will find the culture and the people that you're with truly matter. And all I want to say is some of you might take it for granted, but what you just said is so totally true. Because I just spent 2 years in Santa Monica. I think I got more friends already here than I did in 2 years at that market center. And I just want to thank the team here who helped me go through my first 2 transactions in California, which I literally never thought was going to happen. And how wonderful everybody in this market center is, how approachable you all are, how gracious and full of gratitude you all are, and willing to prop even the lowest person up and move them in a spectrum that might help them. And I'm an example of that, because I believe I will flourish. We were just talking about it on the patio.
Yeah.
What a great environment to be in, and yet so many people think that this market center is unobtainable. They don't know there's a mystery surrounding this building and these people. There is.
I love what you said.
We're trying to build that mystique.
I know. Approachable, grateful and willing. Like that shows a.
That's all I've seen since I've walked in the door here. That is not true at every Keller Williams market center. So don't take it for granted what you got here, because the grass isn't greener somewhere else.
Awesome, boss. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, we can keep talking about our accolades. All right, the next slide. All right, so always interested in recognizing and rewarding and celebrating all the amazing producers here. I'm not going to go down the list of every single one, but you guys can see the list. And again, in a challenging market, we are doing extremely well. So I just want to applaud all of you guys for your amazing effort. Yeah, with that, that's Ross and Andrew. Great stuff, guys. Okay, the next. Oh, yeah. Go back for Ross.
Thank you, Epstein. Thank you. Thank you.
And then I also, Pele's here. We had a great escrow month. I really encourage you to give our escrow team business, and it goes a long way. It gives us a lot more resources to pour back into you. And of course, they're great, and there's accountability and approachability when they're right here in-house. So I'm not going to go down every name, but it was a great
Very
month.
important.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you very much.
Yep. Serena.
It's funny, like, you think you would get less nervous talking in front of people, and I still get nervous.
We love you,
So we have launched this off-market listing platform. We are very proud of it, and we would love for you guys to use it. I'm here for like any questions.
Tell us about it for people that don't know.
So you have an off-market listing an off-market listing signed agreement.
Signed agreement.
You go on the website and you submit it, and you can also view all the other listings as well.
And it gives all of us, a competitive advantage and access to inventory that our competitors don't have.
Yeah,
And then also gives, your sellers opportunity to market their listing off market for whatever reason they choose to 700 agents. So it's
yeah, the
a real
benefit
opportunity.
is like how many people we have in this office. So like 700 people potentially could be viewing your off-market listing. And not every brokerage has that option.
Yeah, and particularly in light of a collaborative environment, there's real power in that to the extent that we use it. So we really encourage you, if you have an off-market listing, put it on the platform. That's
Yeah.
signed. And again, if you're looking for inventory, look on that platform. It's a two-way street.
Absolutely.
Cool. Thanks, Serena. And if you have any questions, I'm putting that up there. So we have, I know many of you participate in this, but I just want to commend Gary Watt, who has been running this social media mastermind for now probably, I don't know, maybe 6 months, probably some 6 months to a year perhaps, and very active participation. Gary's a great leader here. We, again, the environment that we look for people, it's all about building leaders. Every single one of you are a leader if you choose to be. So I just want to applaud Gary.
Yeah, and he took it on his own initiative to take people around to open houses and create the energy around the social media platform that we've built. It's one of the things that we talk about all the time is getting more attention to what we do here, because we do so many great things. And how do we leverage that? How do we tell our story instead of letting someone else tell our story, or the story doesn't get told at all? And obviously, social media is a key to that, and having someone in-house who's phenomenal and also willing to give to any agent that will go along with them on Brokers Caravan.
Does anyone want to, I was going to say, Jimmy, you beat me to it. I was thinking about you. Go ahead. He raises his hand. Go.
I just wanted to add, I remember when he first started the class and the progression of it, where it's not just about taking pictures of a property and then posting it online. Like, today's class was so amazing that he's using programs for his own app that he's sharing with everybody else that we can leverage for our own listings to ultimately bite down on time that we take on tasks that we can just automate. So the whole goal is to be able to be more effective with our time using the new technology that is now out there. And the thing about Gary and his team is they're on top of the latest websites and apps and all these things that I thought I was on top of, but I'm late, right? So Gary is a very innovative. He is 10 steps ahead. So I'd say if you're not part of it, stop on by.
Love it. You're awesome, Jimmy. Thanks, man.
I just want to piggyback off of what you just said. I mean, it's also a community. It's been this mastermind class has been something that we all have been able to benefit from. And because of everyone's contribution, like it's grown to be this thing. I mean, his app isn't his app unless we all participated in it. And I've watched him take people out of their comfort zone and really help their business and leverage social media to get business. And so I'm grateful for this class too. We all do it together. And as these guys just mentioned, it's not just in this room. We all get in the cars and we go up and we caravan. And if we can, we highlight one of our own local listings, which is also shine a lot of eyeballs on properties as well. So grateful for Gary, grateful for you guys, because it's every Tuesday at 10:30. And we have a special guest next Tuesday. Is she here? She's not here. You got to come next Tuesday to check it out because we got a little special guest to come in.
And I just want to say I'm grateful for Jerry, who's a big part of that and many other things here. So
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Is she,
Hey, I'm here.
Rebecca, is that right?
Julia?
Julia, someone, okay. So Julia's an agent. I'll let her speak. She had asked about promoting a listing that she has, and I'm always one to give people an opportunity. She's a KW agent. Where in Florida?
Yeah, Gainesville, Florida. So thank you so much for having me. My husband and I actually got the opportunity to visit your office back in February when we had family reunion out there, and kudos, it's a fabulous office. You guys have 700 plus agents, and that's amazing. We have about 150 in Gainesville. We are the largest brokerage here in Gainesville. So Gainesville is in North Central Florida. And essentially, not a huge luxury market here. And yet this property made me think of you guys. So again, kind of back to what Josh was saying in the beginning, you have to think about the person that you're working with and how can you help them and what are their needs. And I thought it could be a win-win because this property actually was first built in Fresno, and they built it here again in a few years ago in Gainesville. So it's kind of got this California feel to it. So really just thinking about sharing it with you guys so that you can be thinking of your sphere or finding, buyers and potentially sellers for their property in California that are looking for, to get out of California essentially. Maybe it's because they, want more affordability here in Florida. We have a lot of people coming for that reason. It could be that Gainesville is actually renowned for its medical and research facilities. So maybe there's, innovative healthcare that they need. We are home of the University of Florida, which is home of the Gators. I don't know if any of you have heard of Tim Tebow or Steve Spurrier. So those guys are part of the football crew. And actually Steve Spurrier, who played here, got the Heisman, coached here, is actually a neighbor. I'm not exactly sure that his house is in the video, but he's a neighbor of this property owner. So essentially you have an acre here and you have 5,200 square feet in this main residence that you see. And then about another 700 in this little casita. It's all one story. So it's really easy for those that might, have challenges walking. And it's only 2 years old. And so these people are moving out of New Jersey. So yeah, I would just encourage you to search for the needs amongst the people that you know, and maybe if you can find the inventory for them in the location where they want to go, then they'll be ready to sell, and it could be a win-win, on both sides. But anyway, thank you so much for the time here. We'll go ahead and take a short look at this
Thank
video.
you. You got it. Appreciate the initiative.
You're welcome. Thank you.
How much?
Yeah, it's listed at 2.7 million and,
Yeah. Value looks different here. 10 times that.
yeah, exactly. You get a lot for your money here.
Yep.
Paul, you want
Okay, Julian. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
All right, before Michael, do you wanna?
Real quick, we have a full house here. We need to put your picture all over the office every week for. So, for those of you that aren't here, I'm a broker for the office. I noticed, today or within this week, the governor signed the remote online notary bill, which is going to pave the way for doing electronic notaries for transactions, which means there's going to be a lot more potential for fraud. So be aware when you're taking listings that you verify who the sellers are, because we've had issues with that. A lot of stuff that comes up is just problems or issues. So if agents that maybe not be familiar with selling in Beverly Hills, there's certain restrictions for signs, for advertising, putting for sale signs. Open house signs are restricted. And it's understandable, like if you're not used to working in Beverly Hills, West Hollywood has their certain rules as well. So look into the cities before you put signs up. And that's it. There's not much I can think of. If you guys have questions, legal questions, problems, come to me first. If I'm not able to, our risk management attorney, Peter Haven, was awesome. He was here last week. He gave his cell phone number to everybody that was here. So if you weren't here, you didn't get it.
It's very responsive. Yeah.
And so grateful to have Michael.
Yes.
It's what a huge difference it makes for sure.
It's a lot
And-
to oversee 700
Well,
agents. I commend
And also
Michael for his patience, his, grace.
JJ. So,
Yeah.
we've sort of now divided and conquer. So you come to me when you have contract problems, legal problems. If you think there's going to be a lawsuit, come to me. JJ is great on educating, new agents, old agents on how to do stuff. So,
Oh, experience.
yeah.
I have a lot of help from JC on my last deal, so.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the office outside your office now, is that becoming your little teaching?
Oh, no.
It's just-
I'll go wherever I need to be.
Teaching cubicle. Anyway,
Yeah.
so any questions, let me know. And yes.
Oh, I just want to share with you guys, so if you ever have an open house where, where the West Gate is off Sunset Boulevard?
Westgate.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
and
off Sunset Boulevard, it's going into Bel Air.
yeah.
So sometimes they let you put your signs there, and sometimes they take them all down and confiscate them for some reason, so be careful.
So that's interesting because Bel Air is Los Angeles.
Yeah,
It's not,
and
it's the city of LA and you should be allowed to do it, but they may have an HOA thing going on there.
Yeah, and there's no HOA, which is.
Yeah, so
strange.
you want to do it on the public streets.
Yeah, just be careful, because I was putting my signs there, no problem, and then one day after my open house, I came back to pick up my signs and they were all gone.
Wow, right. Yeah, and also the city of Beverly Hills makes it very easy to complain. So they have a link that says if you see a realtor's sign illegally placed, click this button and, that goes. So, yeah. So, all right.
Thanks, Michael. So, oh, did you want to say
I want to
something?
announce my class.
Oh, yeah, please. Go ahead. And then we'll-
So just regarding Bel Air real quick, I've left 6 messages for their HOA. No one has ever gotten back to me. I've Googled signs in Bel Air, nothing. So that's really interesting that they confiscated your signs. That's weird.
Yeah, but I found them.
Okay, good. Okay, good. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, I'm having a class on leases. The gift that keeps giving and giving and giving, not.
Oh, wait, can I?
Yeah, please.
I had a real quick question. So I got an email this morning for the city of Los Angeles is going to be doing a webinar tomorrow at 6 p.m. about the new rental protections that they're doing. So I'm gonna sign on. I'll send the link out tonight so everyone could register. I think it could, just leave it on in the background while you're cooking dinner or doing something. I think it could be good because city of Los Angeles and rental protection is crazy. Even with single family homes, there's no, just cause. You have to have just cause to evict someone, and just putting a house up for sale is not. So go to his class.
So tomorrow's class at 11 o'clock is gonna be leases 101. I mean, it's just, we're starting from scratch basics, leases, and also lease backs. We're gonna go over everything tomorrow. We'll go over the contract, what to do, what not to do. And also really important on the listing, when you take your lease listing, we need to put something in there that says that we're gonna be taking the commissions out of the initial money that goes to the landlord. Right? So we're not collections. We don't have a collections office. We want to get our commissions up front, so there's no chasing commissions. And it's no problem. It's just an educating of the seller or the landlord up front. That's all. So, but 11 o'clock tomorrow, please come or come on Zoom. We put a lot of time into leasing and it's not as much money as sales, but we should know just the basics and we'll go over everything tomorrow.
You're awesome. So I want to acknowledge and celebrate who I consider to be my best friend, business partner, mentor, CEO of Forward Living, 10 Keller Williams offices of close to 3,000 agents, 9,000 annual transactions, over $9 billion of closed volume, and the #1 entrepreneur in the country.
Slightly embarrassing, but yeah, true.
So you want to say?
Whatever you want.
So how does it feel to be named the #1 entrepreneur in the country?
Sheesh.
Well, first of all, I think that one realization is that good or bad, I'm no different of an entrepreneur today than I was a month ago. There's no question about that. So, sometimes I wonder how these things happen, right? It's gradually then suddenly. And when I think of top entrepreneurs, I'm thinking about Elon Musk, and they said something about that in the article, is they were looking for sort of everyday people to interview for that. And honestly, I feel the first thing I felt was a sense of responsibility, that there was something that I had to live into in order to, I get like a little oh, that's great. And within 2 seconds, I'm like,
There's a lot to live up to.
Yeah.
Which benefits all of us, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I will say this, and that's it would be cool if my parents could see it, for sure. And my friends have already seen it, and that's, I got some great thumbs up from my friends and stuff like that. And then very soon after, it becomes, in my mind, and if my friends didn't see it, by the way, I made sure I forwarded it to them.
If I haven't already.
Like my nephew, I'm like, my nephew didn't give me a thumbs up, so after that, then it is back to this thing where perception is reality. We really live in it. We live in a world where reality television shows and these sorts of things, make such a difference. So I
Especially in
feel,
this business.
yeah, so I feel like what can we do to use this to really to leverage the business for everyone? And all of those transactions and all of those things that happen from the hard work of all the agents. We didn't sell those houses. And so so what can we do to make great use of something like this or whatever? Did I answer that question?
Yeah. And I'll just say this, like, I talked about it earlier and it's something that I'm very big on. It's like that combination of like grounded confidence and humility. And Paul completely exemplifies that. Definitely very confident based on tremendous experience and action. Obviously achievement, or he wouldn't be acknowledged in this, but also staying very, very humble and learning based and always being an independent thinker and striving to improve every single day. Right. And never taking his foot off the pedal. Like this, just some people would say, hey, you get a great award, you get something, great success, and you become a little bit more complacent. You take your foot off the pedal. As Paul just said, this causes him to push on the pedal that much harder.
For sure.
Because the accountability and the responsibility that come with that, and using this as ammunition, as fuel to propel you that much further. So I think that's something that I definitely commend and applaud, and definitely I've learned a lot from Paul in that respect, for sure. So what are the attributes that get someone to be in this position? I think what can we all learn from this that can help us all strive to accomplish something like this?
That's a tough question. I will say this, one of the things that I've done recently, because we're doing fire coaching, is
Formerly flow coaching, now
yeah.
fire coaching.
Yeah, and so, we're doing it every Monday, and it's a conversation that we have. And then we have that conversation with the audience, both live and Zoom. And I learn as much from the audience, and it also is a piece of accountability, teaching something like, oh, wow, do I actually do that myself? And, getting the feedback and seeing things differently. And I created, just created a list of topics for fire coaching. Let me do this, and I'll just, each one of these is going to be one of our upcoming classes, but I'm going to read through it super quick, and then you can stop me, or we can expound on it. But basically, when I was thinking about it, I was like, what are the lessons? Because I think this might answer your question. What are the lessons that I think are important that I've learned along the way? And that's the first.
That's it. And then that we can perhaps learn.
So the first one is being learning based. And you hear that so many times, and I've thought about it over and over. And there's the piece that we know. And then one of the great parts of awareness is knowing what you don't know. Other thing that people don't realize is there's even more, there's 10x of that we don't know we don't know. So there's a little part of the graph that's I know this, and I know I don't know this, and there's a whole other piece that we don't even know that we don't know. And so how do we come at that? And I think it's with curiosity and with an open mind. And that's why when I'm teaching something, I'm so interested in what the people have to say, and really coming from a fixed perspective and not being learning based is the moment that you freeze in time in terms of your growth.
And I think curiosity and a willingness to take action and to apply what you learn,
Absolutely.
right? I always say knowledge is in power, applied knowledge.
Absolutely, yeah, for sure. Be mindful of the people you surround yourself with. And so, there's a funny, and that's where Josh is always saying environment matters, right? And when I walked in and people were saying how much this environment propels them, it really does make a difference. And, the first time I heard this adage was, it's sort of like a Texas thing. They're like, oh, if you hang out at the barbershop long enough, you get a haircut, and I was like, not sure that plays in LA, but, if you hang out long enough, at the tattoo shop, right? You end up with a tattoo. And similarly, if you want to, for example, if you want to build wealth, you should hang around somewhere where people are building wealth. If you want to create a great real estate business, you hang around where people are lead generating. It makes that lead generation so much more possible when everyone else around you is doing it.
And that's why the preface, can't help myself, to what I
For
wear on my
sure.
wrist, is talent attracts talent, environment matters.
Yeah,
Right? So, and talented people who have a track record of success, but are also who are willing to share with you, because you can have very talented,
Oh, yeah.
successful people. If they're
For
not
sure.
willing to be collaborative and share, then you're not gonna have, it's not gonna have that same impact.
and when you share, when you share, there's a reciprocity. You also, teaching and learning are simultaneous, for sure. Giving and receiving are simultaneous.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So if I'm giving, it's what we were talking about before, if I'm giving something that somebody wants, that's validating for me. So that's how giving and receiving are reciprocal. I couldn't help myself, like I said, I wrote the opposite too. And it's just like, if you're surrounded by negative people or complainers love an audience, right? So we don't want to be that audience. And that's surround yourself with people. Find a great mentor. And one of the ways to find a great mentor is give more than you get. So to go to a mentor and say, hey, here's the best way to find a mentor is figure out what's something of interest to them and what you can give to
Give
them.
them value, and then you'll get way more back.
I even have a script for it, which is, what would it take? Because I've used this script. What would it take to earn the right to have coffee with you?
Yeah.
And most people won't say no to that. And then I would go to that coffee and I would be I would have my pad and I would have the
prepared.
questions that you want to ask. I would probably do a little research and have, even if it's a billionaire friend or whatever, I would do a little research and figure out what is something that they want, they're interested in. I guess it's in no particular order, but measure KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators. And one of the interesting things about that is you're going to measure what matters. So you have to be very careful that you in fact have the right KPIs. And that's something that people around here can help you with. Because if you have KPIs that aren't going or to understand a KPI is moving that lever going to get you exactly where you need to go. And if it's not going to, it's the wrong KPI. And then we talk about leading and lagging. And leading is like the activities that create what you want. And let's say it's a great real estate business. So it would be lead generation, and then the lagging are the sales. So you can't start with number of conversations. It's one of the things we talk about in our coaching. This is
Embrace the process.
Yeah, this is a big
focus on what you can control, which are the actions and the effort.
This is a big Josh one is, and me too, and ideas and execution. There are millions and millions of ideas. There are millions of great ideas. And without execution, they're nothing, or very little.
I always say, I can't help myself, the strategy is easy. The exection is really where.
Or even the idea,
Yeah.
And then we do have, we have, Rocket Mortgage as our special guest.
What's it say on the
Really?
wall?
No, I wrote it.
Okay.
Let me take it.
Yeah. We took a picture with it when we were in.
Yeah,
Detroit.
it was the one I ran to. They have all these great sayings on the wall, but innovation is rewarded and execution is worshiped.
You nailed it.
Yeah. And I ran right to that with Josh. I'm like, come on, let's point the finger at this.
Literally, we mid-sentence cut us off.
Yeah, I'm like, wait,
Take
we
a
gotta
photo.
run
He was
over
touring
there.
us around, the headquarters in Detroit.
Say that one more time again, Paul. Innovation. Go ahead. You
Innovation
did
is
so nice.
rewarded and execution is worshipped.
Yep.
Yeah, it's very, very, very important. And then feeling, thinking, saying, and doing like how you feel or what you're thinking or what you're saying. What really matters is what you're doing. It's the doing. And I recently hired a guy that I use as a business coach, but he's also a therapist. And in the first meeting that I had with this guy. He's like, you know, I don't care what you say. I don't care how you feel. I don't care what you think. I'm like, stop there. Like, I thought you were in there. You know, like this, it's crazy. And he's like, I only care about what you do. And that is the difference maker. Also, interestingly, you know, and somewhat related is I find that we judge everyone. We judge the outside world by what people do, which makes sense. But then we judge ourselves by our intentions, right? So it's like, oh, you know, if I cut somebody off on the way, you know, I might be late to pick up my daughter. If I cut somebody off on the way, I've forgiven myself already. So like, I know I have somewhere important to go, but you can only judge the outside world, and therefore the outside world really judges you by what do you do. And so, you know, so actions over everything. Be solutions oriented. You know, I think I touched on this a little bit. One of my favorite stories about being solutions oriented was, you know, reading like Men's Health magazine or whatever, like the back cover. This is so many years ago. It's amazing that this stuck with me so well. Reading the back of the Men's Health magazine, there was like a NASCAR racer. I'm not even a NASCAR fan, you know, and it's like asking him all these cool questions. And cool questions like, what kind of car do you drive when you're not like driving around the track at 180 miles an hour? I'm like, that's a cool question. He's like, oh, a minivan or whatever. You know, yeah. How fast do you drive on the highway? There's like all these things that I kind of thought were cool. And then the one question I thought wasn't cool, I thought his answer wasn't all that interesting, where they said, look, there are a lot of crashes. There's a lot of stuff happening on a racetrack. How do you avoid crashes? And his answer was, I point the nose of the race car to where the crash is not. I'm like, okay, that, you know, and I maybe like, you know, 2 months later or whatever, suddenly I was like, oh my gosh, that's genius actually, right? And, you know, and even as a physical matter, okay, if there are these crashes around and you look at the crash, where does your car go?
Yeah.
It goes right at the crash. But if you're like under significant pressure and and cars are in flames around you, you know, you look, you're like, okay, there's the point, right? And you point the nose of the car that way. And that's maybe a long-winded way of saying a lot of things, and that is ignore the noise.
Stay focused.
Stay focused, ignore the noise. There's so much noise out there. And what are the things that are going to make a difference? And point the nose of the race car to the things that are going to make the
And
difference.
run your own race and don't be so compelled by what's going on around.
There's so many different metaphors, you know, right? And so it turns out like that he drives a minivan is the coolest thing he said in that article. I wish you could remember who it was, because it was so long ago. But you know, I wrote down the extra mile, go the extra mile. You know, we heard a guy speak that wrote a book, Unreasonable Hospitality. I don't read a lot because of ADD, but I do love the books that you could just like, you just read the title and it's like, you don't need any more, like The One Thing. I'm like, oh, I get it. Okay. You know, unreasonable hospitality and the extra mile. And then, you know, and then like somebody said, there's a cool quote, like, you know, the extra mile is awfully lonely because there's nobody on the extra mile. And then there's another book that was called 211 Degrees, which I also did not read. And it was about, you know, basically the idea of it is at 211 degrees, you have a giant pool of very hot water. Maybe you can make hot dogs in there or whatever. 212 degrees, it creates steam. Steam turns turbines. Turbines generate electricity. Electricity lights up the entire city. And so it was just a great metaphor of that one little extra step. So many people work so hard that just taking that one little extra step makes
Little things create the big things. So go the extra mile.
And then, you know, because I didn't finish this, you know, I'll just end with ask great questions. You know, and I always have a list of questions. I only wrote down a few. You know, even when things go great, taking the time to say, how does it get better than this? Because that's where we're really learning. And people take that opportunity a lot of times when something doesn't go well. But what if things went well? You still said, how does it get better than this? How does it get better than this is a great question. Also, when things don't go well, there's a question that doesn't work for me, and that's like, what have I learned? You know, right? Because something didn't go well for me, you know, it was a total flop. What did I learn? I'm like, I'm a knucklehead. I mean, you know, like, what, you know, that question doesn't work for me, but I'll tell you what does work for me. And that is, how can I make this useful? Where is the advantage in this for me? And every time I've asked that question, which by the way, you don't need an answer to, because if something doesn't go your way and you're like furious, right, you're not going to come up with an answer, but still ask the question and keep asking the question. And when you keep asking that question, it's then focusing the race car.
And what's the question you and I ask all the time with each other?
What are we gonna do about it? Yeah.
Yeah, so when you get a
What
challenge,
are you gonna do about it?
disappointment, what are we gonna do about it? Pure
Yeah.
and simple. That's like, we ask that to
Yeah.
each other like,
Yeah,
all the
all the
time.
time. And then just, you know, I have. this
What
thing-
action are we gonna take, right? To create a solution.
And I have this thing, and I think it relates, well, some of these are so interrelated, it relates also back maybe to the unreasonable hospitality, is that you get such a reflexive no on things, like, you know, now in LA, it's like, oh, you know, hey, could you hold the cilantro? Sorry, the chef won't. Okay, interesting. Take it off yourself. It's, you know, $78 for the appetizer. Or something. But you know, but then again, it's almost back to your question of like, you know, how much do you give, or, you know, where do you draw the line? And instead, I've learned instead of a reflexive no, to ask a question. By the way, you can and should say no. No is powerful. No can be very powerful. But before you say no, you could ask, how would I make this work for me? So if Josh says, there's not a question, you know, if Josh says, hey, listen, you know, or I won't use Josh because the answer would be yes, but you know, hey, you know, I want my salary doubled, you know, I'm like, are you crazy? This is a down market. But the intermediate question is, well, how could this work for us? You know, and then that creates a whole new path. And so
How can there be a win-win, right?
for sure, how can I create a win for me
Yeah.
and my team inside of saying yes? And so.
So let me ask you that, and then I want to open it up to these
Yeah,
guys. But
for
one question I have, like when you review a business opportunity that
Yeah.
are presented to you and me all of the time,
Mhm.
right? I guess one question is, how do you determine if you're going to take the meeting?
Right.
And then the second question is, once you're entertaining the opportunity, how do you decide if you're going to engage in the opportunity?
So the sad truth is I try not to take the meeting, period. Because, and that's kind of the opposite of being open, you know, and I'm sure I'm saying no to a lot of things by not taking the meeting to begin with, but we would just be inundated with meetings. Because we have a huge network and people want to sell, you know, the latest antioxidant.
To all of you
juice.
guys,
Yeah,
right?
Like, so
We're
I
the
take the meeting.
gatekeepers in many ways, right?
So
Yep.
number one is I try not to take the meeting. And then, you know, if it filters through, or if it's a friend, you know, I'll take a meeting because a friend's asked me to take a meeting. And then generally, if it's not directly in my area of expertise, I will not invest in it. Because I generally don't, somebody that knows like a little, doesn't matter how smart you are, like if somebody knows a lot more about that particular aspect of an industry, you know, I can remember, you know, from being in Tiger 21, which is a lot of very sophisticated investors, and, you know, people would come in and pitch us. And I remember a very smart friend of mine sitting next to me, and we listened to this pitch and we're in, you know, and then they put, it was a stock market thing, and they put the guy out, and then the one guy in the room who's like the absolute stock market genius, like tells us why it's the worst idea ever. And we're like, okay, right. We know that inside of, outside of our area of competence, it's not a great idea.
And I will say this, even tell me your thoughts, like when someone presents us with something, a lot of it is just the approach. It's like, do they come again with curiosity and contribution? Are they approaching it with like, here's what's in it for you? Like we always say, you know, what's in it for the other person? What's in it for you guys? Because if not,
As soon as they open up the computer to hit me with the slide deck, I'm done. I'm like, put the slide deck away.
Yeah.
You know, let's talk about this. They should be talking to us about a particular need, a problem that they are going to solve. So I've studied your business and I understand that you have this particular need. Is that true? Validate that. Yes, that's true. Okay, great. So we have something that's going to solve that need. Is that something you'd be interested in? Yes, we're interested in that.
Curiosity,
That's the-
contribution,
that's
when
the-
you're trying to just shovel something
Yeah.
down someone's throat and trying
Yeah.
to sell them something, the natural response is to be defensive and not be receptive to it. So how do you guys use that as you go out and try to gain sales in your business? So really think about, how does it feel to be on the other end of the situation? And how is it being received?
And also the thing about confidence and, I'm always going to want to ask somebody in a hiring situation or an investment situation, a question that they don't know the answer to. It doesn't matter what it is. I want at least one question that they don't know the answer to so that I can figure out how they're going to handle that. And I'm like, hey, you know what? Actually, wow, that I should probably know that, but I don't, but I'm gonna get back to you on it. And then what's the follow-up look like on that? That shows back to what I was saying before, the ability to collaborate.
And do you want to, while you're at it, and then we'll go, the homework, you want
What's
to give them the homework?
Oh, the homework. So.
I know you.
Oh, you mean in terms of networking with somebody?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a slightly different thing, but one of the things that I use all the time to connect with people is, and I talk to agents about it all the time, is find the homework. And that is, what's the need that particular person, and I got that from a phenomenal networker, and they're just like, they're having a conversation, like, oh, Doka, they'll ask and ask and ask until they find something that you need. And then, as soon as you turn your back, go write down what that thing is, and then they'll
end the
follow
meeting
up.
right there.
Yeah, it's over. As soon as you get the homework.
So you have the
meeting
next
done.
step. It's always
Yeah.
like, what's the next
What's the
step? So you
next
can
step?
bring it to closure. Like
And-
so many times you have a great meeting and then it's just over. No one follows up, no one follows through. This gives you a natural progression for the next step to then ultimately,
And one
accomplish
of
what
the
you're trying to
things, that you've had me repeat a few times in this vein is looking at, I don't look at the best case scenario. I don't look at the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is you hit the lotto. The worst case scenario is you get struck by lightning. Okay, so let's wipe those out. And what's the most likely best case scenario? What's the most likely worst case scenario? Can I live with the most likely worst case scenario, and is the upside big enough? And then, I heard when I came out with Wealth Can't Wait, Tony Robbins had come out with an investment book also, and he had like 4 or 5 points, but I remember one of them was very cool, and he was studying the way billionaires invest, and they're looking for an asymmetric upside. So a really asymmetric upside, and never lose their investment. Now, maybe they're in a position where they can command that sort of investment, but that is the way, that's something that I'm looking for. I do not want, I don't want to invest in something that I'm going to lose my principal on, period. And I'm not looking for a normal return. Normal return, we do way better than that in real estate all day long.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing, is like, I would really say in terms of wealth building, stick to your core competence. I am always astonished that we are in front of more real estate, more opportunities in real estate than almost anybody. And the only explanation I have for realtors not investing in real estate all the time is they understand it so well that they understand the upside and the downsides. They prefer to go somewhere where they don't actually understand it, and they can be sold on the upside and they don't know what the downside is. So I stay away from.
Yeah. There's such an arbitrage, quite frankly, opportunity, because you guys should have more knowledge than other people. So
For
take
sure.
advantage of it, right?
sure.
By investing in real
And
estate.
there is something interesting about real estate in that, I think a very thorough home inspection is going to give you more information about a piece of property, and then you study the comps in the neighborhood, and what you can track all of that. You can know more about a real estate investment inside of the space of a few days than the best industry analyst on the planet is going to know about Apple or whatever. You don't know what's going on inside of those companies, but you do know what the duplex in West Hollywood is going to be like in next decade. We think we can.
Yep. All right, I'm gonna give you guys an opportunity. Thank you. Phenomenal.
Thanks.
That's an opportunity to ask Paul questions.
Yes. Oh, there we go, Chad.
Yeah. Hey, Paul. You're amazing.
Thank you.
I've known you for a long time. I just have this question. We talked about it the other day, but what would you say is the number one key for you in sustained growth over time, being who you are?
Well, I think that it's never, it really is never sustained. So that like, I get like two, especially to get two LA on you or whatever, but equanimity is sort of staying centered. And the people who really have that mastered are not staying centered all the time. It's just how fast they get back to center. And so, it's the curve looks smooth, but there's rockiness all the time in terms of personal growth and in terms of more in terms of personal growth than anything, because on the wealth curve, you just invest in real estate and you hold, and it's like, it doesn't matter what the market does, you just over time, by my essential strategy has been buy and hold. I really have three pieces to the real estate thing, and one's buy value add, make sure it cash flows, or with very small adjustments will cash flow, and then buy where you know. Following those three real rules, I've never lost money on a real estate deal ever. And I've been tempted to invest other.
I want to throw a little wrinkle into it too, knowing Paul very well. You got to keep it fun. Sustainability is about keeping it fun. And how is it fun?
I really do.
With the right people. Sure and simple. That's how I
love,
we work every weekend.
Yeah, and I love what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love what I do. And, Josh and I work very hard on Monday through Friday dealing in the business. And I think it's another lesson is, work hard in your business, but take some time away, go, 10, 20,000 foot and work on your business. And we do that, every Saturday. And that's my favorite time of working is taking a little view on it.
What do you do on Saturday?
We go to the coffee shop and talk about the direction of the company and how we can stay ahead of the curve. I think that in real estate, a lot of deals, the number of transactions might be down 20%, but there still were 5,500 transactions in LA County last month. So there's plenty to go around. So how are we going to get in front of those? Also, when a market gets wonky, what are the things that life events, et cetera, that are, just thinking about how do we stay in front of more and more of these deals, and how do we do that for our brokerage, and how we distinguish our brokerage from other places.
And also measure, this is another common thing, whatever your goals are, understand the opportunity, understand the market, quantify the opportunity, and then figure out where you stand in that market share. And then how do you strategically capture more market share? But if you don't know the number of opportunities, then quite frankly, you're operating blind.
Yeah, I can. And that's what I ask for my team is I ask for real, not just the top level reports. I want it all the way down to the bottom so I can actually move the needle. I can't move the needle with the top level report. I need to know where exactly is that business coming from? Where exactly are the opportunities that we're missing out on? And then I can actually go to work on, hey, let's put a system in place.
Look, think about how many listings did we close? And then how many escrows are we capturing?
This is
The
the last
listings
thing
we
we're
close
looking
is
at.
the opportunity, right? How many are we capturing gives us the market share? How do we
So,
enhance the
yeah,
market share?
Don't tell me,
right?
don't tell me market share percentage, because I don't actually know how to move that number. I want to know what office is it? Who are all the people that gave us the escrow so I can go out and thank them? Who are all the people that didn't give us the escrow so I can go out and ask for the opportunity, and how can we earn their business? And without getting that far down, it's market share. So then what do? I tell the manager, listen, you've got to move it from, 26% to 29%. I'm like, I don't know how to do that actually.
What's the plan to execute?
Yeah.
Right?
And so I need that information.
Yeah.
Jimmy was gonna ask me.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. When it comes to business partners and individuals that you choose to surround yourself with, what are 3 to 4 characteristics that those individuals have that you see they all share?
So, you know, they have to, you know, you have to have shared values for sure. You know, you can't be in business with somebody that, and you can watch the way they treat other people, because the way they treat other people, eventually things get, oh, they're so nice to me, you know, but they're not that nice to everybody else. Like, eventually that will come back. So, you know, shared values and that sort of thing. And honestly, for me personally, on that spectrum of like ideas versus execution, I tend more toward the ideas side. So I know that I personally need somebody that executes. And so that's why I'm like, okay, Josh, you know, like, here's an idea, you know, I'm gonna validate the idea with my team, but I'm like, all right, let's get after it, you know. And so somebody that's going to move you further in those areas that are key, that need to be fulfilled. You know, changing yourself.
I'll throw a couple in there
Yeah.
because I know he thinks personal responsibility, like,
Oh,
don't
for
be a
sure.
victim, like, own it, like, pure and simple. Life isn't fair. So
Yeah.
what are you gonna do about it? You know, how are you
Yeah.
gonna make the most with what you have?
Yeah.
I think which goes hand in hand with grit. You know, I know that's a big one. Like, how resilient are you? Equanimity, how quickly
Sure.
you bounce back when you're knocked down?
No
We get
complaint.
knocked down every single
Yeah.
day, all
Yeah.
over the place. And what are we gonna do about it, right?
My daughter, I feel like, you know, we don't, as a kid, I didn't learn very much when things were easy for me, but guess what? Things were not really easy for me. And my parents never did any, you know, my parents did very little for me in terms of like what we do for, you know, what I do for my daughter. I already know that. So I know that, like, you know, everything that I do for my daughter, I'm taking away an opportunity for her to learn. And so based on that, and based on that knowledge, I've taken away a lot of opportunity for her to earn because for her to learn, because I'm always doing as much as I possibly can for her. Now she goes away to college and, you know, XYZ happens, but she's away in college in New York, and she was on the phone with me and she's just complaining. And I'm like, enough already, you know, like, and I said to her, you have, and she's like, I just want somebody to listen to me. And like, that's like daughter code to like make dad, you know, like get back off of whatever I was gonna say. So, okay, fine. You know, then I listened to some more of the belly aching, you know, and I was like, all right, look, you have enough, there's enough truth in what you said and what you're saying that, you know, you genuinely could, you could genuinely complain about this forever. Like, you know, you're right.
Right.
You know, you're right.
Where's that gonna get
And
you?
then she got mad at me for saying that. And I said, well, look, same thing for me. You know, enough bad stuff has happened to me that I'm justified. That's what it was. You're justified in like complaining all, you know, for another month. And then she got mad and I was like, well, no, same for me. Like, I'm justified too. Let me just give you the list. She didn't want to hear the list. Okay, so now what do we get? And basically, it's what are you gonna do about it? And that is the gift that's the gift that to give to a child, and it's awfully hard when you wanna.
And I gotta say this, being around Paul, give him, you know, true character, you hear it all the time, it's revealed in adversity, right? And that's where the greatest opportunities lie, if you respond with what are you gonna do about it. And I see Paul and grace under pressure. I really honestly, like, can tell you, he's dealt with more pressure than probably anyone I know in business and in life, truly. And I've never seen you like lose your composure. And that to me is very admirable. And that's part of leadership for sure.
Is that learned?
Yeah.
Oh, for sure it's learned. Yeah, for sure it's learned. And then I've had the moments where Josh didn't see it, you know, but I've had the moments where I've lost my mind and, you know, and again, it's about getting back to center. And, you know, and I have done that even with my daughter, which I'm least proud of. And the one great thing about that is you can go back and fix that. So if you lose your mind, you scream at your kid, and you can go back and say, hey, you know what? I was being a jerk. I lost my mind. I'm really sorry. And that in and of itself is a lesson too, because, you know, my parents didn't do that much, but certainly they never. Your dad admitted he was wrong. I mean, like, yeah, you know, my mom was never wrong. You know, so it's a good lesson to, you know, there's a lesson in and of itself, and you can clean that up pretty quickly.
Yep.
Yeah, these are great questions.
I have-
Sonia. Oh,
I can't believe that she's at the college.
I know.
She was like 4 years,
I
5
know,
years
right?
old, my goodness.
Tell me about it, right? Sweet 27.
Sonia.
College.
Okay, so this may seem basic to your level of business dealings, but I constantly struggle with this, so maybe somebody else does, but how do you manage this industry? You have to do a little bit of everything. And it's very stressful to me. And how do you manage it all? Like your time, how do you fit all this into your time? I mean, just going through my emails takes a long time.
Right.
And just writing everything that I have to do. I never get to it. It's really hard for me to manage my time. So how do you deal with that?
So, you know, you'll have to ask my assistant. I don't.
Right.
I haven't had time to read my email in months. You know, there's a metaphor of smoke in the room, you know, which I always talk about, and that is that smoke, you know, smoke is like work and the room is like time. And the more time you have, the smoke fills the room. And then, you know, all of a sudden the room gets small, you know, and the best real example for that is how efficient you are prior to going on vacation. Like everybody is suddenly an efficiency genius, like the day, including me, you know, the day before vacation, suddenly I know what I need to do and what I don't need to do, and it gets prioritized. And so I've found that the more I have to do, the more efficient I get at it. And then the more able I am to not pay attention to the little things. It's actually really helped me a lot to be a lot busier. And so focusing again on the things that are gonna make the difference without being attached to all the.
And
to
I'll
all
throw
the
another
emails.
wrinkle into it. Have a plan,
Yeah,
make sure it's reflected in your calendar, and be proactive and not
Right.
reactive.
right.
So about.
And you gotta just tune out the noise, you know?
Reactive. So you have a plan. And then, you know, you're representing buyers and sellers, and they throw a wedge into your plan every single day. And then you have to stop and.
You don't have to,
do that.
depending on how important it is, you gotta condition.
Well, well,
You don't have to do anything. you
I
know?
taught a class and this woman came up to me and she's like, well, you know, I know you're a lawyer and, you know, and she starts telling me this whole story. I got sucked into the whole story, and it's a husband and a wife, and, you know, and then the wife convinced the husband to quit claim the deed into the husband thing. I'm like, I'm deep in the story, you know, and, you know, what should I be telling the wife? And I don't, you know, I represented both, and I'm like trying to figure out like, so who signed the contract? And then all of a sudden it dawned on me, and I was like, how many listings do you have? And she's like, well, I have 2 listings. I'm like, well, what would you do if you had 18 listings? And she'd be like, oh, I would tell them to like buzz off and figure it out. I'm like, there's your answer. And so that sort of does go back to, you know, a lot of it,
And a lot of it, honestly, also just if you become so reactionary, a lot of it just takes care of itself in time. I'm not saying there aren't times, and that comes with experience. And again, to Paul's point, if you only have one deal and you're milking that deal, then yeah, that becomes your complete focus. But if you've got a bigger pipeline, then all of a sudden the priorities become a lot more clear. So you gotta try to discipline yourself and really think about who your audience is, think about where this lies in the context of your purpose and your plan, and then resist the temptation to just react to everything, because it can.
It's back to giving too much of yourself, too much time. and-
Yeah, boundaries.
yeah.
And then you end up with 1 or 2 clients at a time because they just consume.
Yeah,
You got
and
it.
there's another tool that I use all the time, which is called the Covey quadrant, and you know, and quadrant 1 are things that are important and urgent. And I translate that because I need it to work for my own brain. And so important, I changed to mission critical, so I know it's like really, really important. And urgent, I changed to screaming. So it's the mission critical thing that's like screaming, do this, do this. Well, I don't have any problem with that. You know, okay, no problem.
That happens naturally.
Yeah, that happens naturally. And then there's quadrant 2, which is the mission critical stuff that doesn't scream. And that's like the lead generation, right?
Don't have to do it this
You
second,
don't have
but
to do it
if you
this
don't
second,
do it, at some
right?
point, you're not
And
gonna
so
have
that's the
a viable
one,
business.
so that's the one that can cause some problems. And then quadrant three is also the ones that are not mission critical, but are screaming. So it's like, hey, do this, but you're doing that instead of the thing that's not screaming that is mission critical. So it really turns out quadrant two and quadrant three are the ones that need purposeful attention. And there are ways that I, I just put deadlines and
again, if you
accountability
determine if
around.
it's mission critical, do you have a plan? Where does this fall within the plan? And if it's not falling within the plan, it's not mission critical.
And when you're talking deals, there's never, I mean, there are fires, but a lot of the clients just want acknowledgement first.
Right.
They just want to, okay, you heard what I was just.
It's often just to that point, Matt's point, a check, I'll get back to you later today. It's just a quick acknowledgement and then get back to it when.
And they respect that and like, just time management.
Watch somebody who does a lot of deals and see and follow, shadow them for a day and see what they do. I was having lunch with top producers and it was two business partners and the woman's like, oh, hey, this was a great meeting. Sorry, I have to cut it short. I have to run out to be at a home inspection. I don't know. I must have looked at her sideways or something. She goes, I know you don't think that I should go to a home inspection. I go, well, that is true. I don't think, and they do a big business. And she knew that I just bought a house. She's like, I'll bet you when you had your home inspected that you were there. And I'm like, I'll bet you don't know me that well. I do. Because I guarantee you I wasn't there. And that's number one. I did ask about 7 different people for the toughest home inspector that I could find. That home inspector charged, $550. And I called him and said, hey, let me bargain with you. I'm going to give you $650. When you spend a little extra time on my house. And then guess what? I didn't even read the report. I called him and said, hey, what are the things I need to know?
So part of delegate to the right people.
Yeah, to the
That's
right
big.
people.
Yeah, big time. Yep. One last.
Yeah, maybe.
Hey, Abraham.
Paul, congratulations once again. What motivated you to where you're at now versus where you started?
That's a great question, and that's a softball for me because I grew up in Pittsburgh. I knew my dad was not educated. Grew up during the Depression, and all we knew was education as a way out. I'd never been a salesperson other than the Fuller brush guy, which I don't know, I'm sure they don't have that anymore, but it was a guy that sold like brushes and soap store to door. He wasn't doing that great. So I didn't, and so, my parents really emphasized education and, I wasn't great at sitting still, but I did well in school because it was like life or death. So that's what kept me, and then I got to go to a fancy law school, which took me to a fancy law firm where it was really awful. And it was like breaking rock. It was like working in a salt mine for me. I mean, I absolutely hated it. So I was just looking for some way to use the skills. My dad, I remember saying this in front of a huge auditorium and I meant it to sound nice and it like took their breath away in not a great way. My dad said to me one time, I think you would be a great CEO. I just have no idea how you're going to get there. And that like took the breath out of the audience. Like, oh, your dad said that. That was like the biggest compliment you ever paid. I was like, hey, thanks. Well, I'm gonna have to figure it out, but I appreciate your vote of confidence. But I was in bed and it was 11 a.m. But when he said it, so that's a story too. But that's I love what I do. I love what I do. I love the fact that I can contribute and in contribution, earn a great living and do fun stuff and the experience. And when I do the podcast, I got this question from a phenomenal woman who's a psychologist and, then was a sports psychologist, then became an executive psychologist who we met with. And she would ask all these rich people, what she has a ton of great questions, but she said, you climb up this very difficult hill, and finally make it to the top. And when you're at the top, you look down and it's your family and your friends and your colleagues and your community. And what do you shout? And you know, I actually had an I wouldn't share with the group because I had an embarrassing answer. And my embarrassing answer was love me. And I felt like that sounded too like wimpy to share in front of these other like very strong business people. But I told her afterwards.
Yeah.
And she said to me, what do you think is the most common thing that people say out of the very successful people? I'm like, I don't know. And she's like, you know. I'm like, no, I really don't know. And she's like, and it was screw you, but it didn't start with an S. You know, and I was like, really? Yeah. And then, and here's another thing. Here's another thing that I love about asking questions like that, because my answer, love me, I changed the answer. And I changed the answer like a week ago because I interviewed somebody and they said something way cooler than that. And what they said was, come with me. I'll show you the way. I found my way to the top, come with me. And I'm like, not what I said, what he said, you know? And so, you know, there's no pride of authorship, you know, and that's why, you know, like you want a great mission statement, go look at everybody else's mission statement and pick the one that you like the best and, you know, edit it a little bit if you want, you know? Change the comma. Yeah, change the comma. So I was like, yeah, forget what I said, you know, that love me thing, like, yeah, that's what I mean. And that really, you know, I think we'll wind up with that, but that does motivate me. You know.
You said, because it goes on the same thing, we'll end with this. I forget how you said it, but you know, the idea that you quote unquote need all of us.
Oh, for sure.
As much as we need you.
Oh, for sure.
Like,
There's no
how did you
question
say
about that. I mean,
that's strong. I know you well and I. do know that.
I don't know how I said it, but I will say like recently, you know, as we've been doing, there are personality assessments that we use. And, you know, I look on the personality assessment and, you know, I'm looking at, I won't identify anybody, sorry. I look at certain people I've done the personality assessment with, and, you know, way down on the list is single agent. You know, so low correlated to success, that it's like almost you shouldn't do this, right? And then way at the top of the list is mega agent. And if you think about it, it's like almost like what Sonia was saying. It's like, you know, if you're a single agent, you're going to figure all this stuff out, you know. And one of my best friends is a phenomenal agent. He makes a lot of money and he's on a team and he gets the business fed to him and he crushes it. And he just doesn't have the executive function to do all of it on his own. I do feel like I'm just not a solo operator. You know, I get motivated by the people around me and it means a lot. And so that's why when I get to the top of the hill, I'm changing what I'm saying. And it's like, come this way. I found the way to the top. Let's go.
I'm with them.
All right.
Awesome. So we want to quickly, we'll wrap this up and everyone stay here. We want to welcome very, very enthusiastically our new lending partner. We've got to know these guys extremely well over the last, you know, couple of months. We've made one trip to Detroit. They've come here a couple of times. We're heading to Detroit again in a couple of weeks. And I think the foundation of it is the cultural alignment that we have and the values that are so aligned with Rocket Mortgage. These guys are all about collaboration, all about execution, all about giving first with no expectation. And beyond being, you know, a $20 billion publicly held company and all the resources and accomplishments they've achieved is at the foundation are the core values that are so in alignment and congruent with ours. And we couldn't be more excited about the partnership that we're going to have with these guys here, that we do have with them here and well beyond. And do you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, I would say it's very unusual to have such amazing executive leadership here with us, with Doka and Jason and Tim. You know, to get and when we first met you guys, just like so impressive each time that we've met with you and and also the number of years that you guys have been with the company
Yeah.
relative to your age, just, it shows something special. And then also I was very impressed with the company without knowing a ton about the company, just in how senior positions these guys hold with, as young as they are.
Yeah,
Vice
very-
president, executive president.
Which is
and
all about,
President of the.
which is all about, well, one of our core.
Quite a while.
It's a meritocracy, and unfortunately, you don't see that as often as we all would like to see it. It's about what you've accomplished and not about your seniority.
For sure. And if you guys have anything you want
Yeah,
to.
so.
Mind if I- can I-
Oh, absolutely.
great.
Yeah.
First of all, it's awesome being here. Thank you for inviting us into your house.
So Tim is the president of Rocket Mortgage.
I am.
So.
How you doing?
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I can feel the love in here amongst the group. This feels like a great team to me. You were talking about team. The fact that you can't just do this on your own. You need a team of people to surround you, to exchange ideas, thoughts, emotions, and kind of propel you forward and create that energy. And I'm feeling that here in this room. So kudos to this group. I can understand why. I guess it's not surprising. I'm here with the number one group in all of California and arguably America. So round of applause to yourself. Perhaps we're very, very excited about the partnership. We're very excited to be here with the team today. And I think we should have everybody come out to Detroit at one point or another and check it out. What do we got? A couple thousand people out here watching this thing? We'll get there, but we're excited to grow with the group. We're excited to partner with the group. We're excited to prove to the group that we can take care of clients at a super high level. For us, it's all about the client every time, no exceptions, no excuses. I think you'll see that show up. So we're really happy to be here, and the weather's great too, by the way.
Actually, yeah. And I just want to, Jason Morrison, Joka, I'm not even gonna try Joka's last name. We've spent a ton of time with these guys, and they become like brothers to us. And we couldn't be, again, more excited about what we're gonna create together with them and what impact it's gonna have on all of you guys and ultimately your clients, and helping you grow and do more business and create more value for everyone.
We have an ism, it's kind of like what our culture is, and it's really about doing the right thing and making sure we take care of people. And I think you'll see that in how we do our business, and we're people of our word, and we're excited to be here and work with the team.
How many years with Rocket?
Almost 28 years.
How many years with Rocket?
19.
11. He's 33. So that's got to tell you something about this organization. So.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I will just add, for us, feedback's a gift. We love it. So whatever feedback you have, please keep it coming our way. We want to make sure that we're providing not only the highest level of value, but also the highest level of service to your clients and your reputation. Your brand is important. I mean, that's what the whole genesis of this partnership is. You take a fantastic brand like KW Ford Living and you pair it with the number one brand in mortgages, and you can do something extremely special. So please keep the feedback flow running. If you need anything from myself, Joka's probably a little bit easier to get a hold of. He responds very, very quickly, but if you guys need anything from us along the way, we're here to make this partnership as successful as possible.
You guys are in the office.
Yes. They won't be in the office. They're in Detroit, but
I'll be your office.
Yeah, he's out here. Yeah. But Rocket will be in the office. Yes, absolutely.
I'd be happy to come to California as much as possible between November and.
We have lots of Rocket clients that need help in this area. We're excited for this team to help those clients.
Love it. Thank you, guys. Thank you all.
Hey.